Hello and welcome back to the LFC transfer room. Today, just me and James speaking about a bit of breaking news. Manchester City have officially signed Erling Haaland pending an agreement with the club, but he's got a release clause, so it's going to happen. Um, Big news for the Premier League, James. You know, possibly one of the best strikers in the world now joining our arch rivals who haven't had a striker this season. It's the final piece to Pep Guardiola's £1 billion puzzle, isn't it?
Oh, can it be called a £1 billion puzzle or multi-billion-pound puzzle now? I mean, it's great, isn't it? You know, if your £100 million attacker doesn't work out, you just go out and buy another £100 million attacker, don't you? You know, the Grealish one failed, and then they've just gone, do you know what? Let's just buy Haaland now. But it's good to see Haaland in the Premier League.
Yeah, and do you know what? He was linked with Manchester United a lot, weren't he? I'd rather see him at City because I feel like Pep would overthink him at City, where I genuinely believe that he probably would absolutely fly at Manchester United under Ten Hag.
Yeah. I don't. People are sensationalising it a bit, and it irks me a little bit because people are saying, "Oh, Man City will be untouchable. No one will be able to beat Man City if they sign a striker." We only play them twice in a Premier League season, and we've only lost 2 all year. So let's not get overexcited about, they're going to be untouchable, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. We're talking about a team that's drawn 5 and lost 3, and we've drawn 8 and lost 2 in a Premier League season. Yes, he's a brilliant signing. Yes, he solves a lot of problems for them, might create different problems for them. But it's not the end of the Premier League because Man City have signed Haaland.
Yeah, he's as well. I think, Pep during the beginning of his Premier League career had Sergio Aguero. It's not like he's never had a striker at the club. It's just last year. And he does have strikers at the club. Gabriel Jesus has proven when he's playing as a striker, he can score goals. Pep just doesn't use him as a striker, and he's shied away from using a striker this season. And they've been just as good as they have, maybe even better, without a striker. And I don't know how much you watch Haaland, James, but this season he's been struggling with injuries in a less intense league. Is that something that they should worry about?
Definitely, and I think in the Premier League, there's a lot more. You're not going to find it like in Germany. He's not going to be able to bully people the same. It is, when you're up against 2 centre backs in the Premier League, they will, studs down the shin, back of the legs. They'll push you around a bit. And if I think it's his hamstrings, isn't it? So it's the sprint work that he's doing, and the press that Pep wants to play is probably far more intense than anything he's been doing at Dortmund. So it is a concern, and they probably need to get their medical team looking at this as soon as possible to just ensure that he can function, because the number of games he's going to be playing for City, Charlie, is going to be infinitely more than at Dortmund.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be playing 60 plus games a season, and it's. I was watching a video about people who do medicals, and they basically said a medical isn't what people think it is. A medical is more of a risk assessment. So they, for instance, a really great God, fuck, I can't think of the word. It was Nabil Fekir. A great comparison was Nabil Fekir. Like, yes, he may have passed a medical at other clubs, and he passed his medical technically, but his knee was too much of a risk for Liverpool to do it. So even though he would have passed his heart or like everything, and he's proved today that he's more than a good enough football for Betis, it's what the risk they want. And clearly Manchester City have so much money that they're willing to take a risk on somebody who has a reoccurring issue. And Carl's put here, how much did they pay for him? So his release clause is £64 million at Dortmund, but Mina Riola's agency has £30 million, and his dad, or £40 million, and his dad also is going to take £40 million. So they have paid more in agents and family fees than they have for his actual transfer, and he's going to be earning the same amount of money as Kevin De Bruyne on 375 grand a week. I think they've worked it out. The total package for Erling Haaland is going to be close to £250 million, which is absolutely bonkers, isn't it, James?
It is. It is and it's not, isn't it, when you think about it? Because how old is he? What, 22?
21, I think. 21, 22.
And if they can sort out, the injury problems so they can get him functioning, they could have a striker at the top level for the next 10 years comfortably. So for £250 million plus contract extension, stuff like that, it could be a very astute signing. I think the thing we've got to always bear in mind is, does a big centre forward work in this Pep system? Is it Pep that fell out with Ibrahimovic?
I think so, yeah. He fell out with Samuel Eto'o too.
Samuel Eto'o, he's not got a great track record of centre forwards. He had a falling out with Aguero for a little bit, and I think eventually they sorted it all out. So it's not, is he a good player? Is he going to be able to score goals? Yes. Can he function in the Premier League? Probably, but German League is not Premier League, as we've seen from a lot of players. It's more, can he work in a Pep system? And I'm not sure.
Look, there's no doubt that Erling Haaland is an unbelievable talent, and we're not slandering the transfers for Sorry, I'm rubbish with names. If you know the channel, we're not slandering it, but we're trying to look at it in a Pep team. Like, obviously, Pep thinks that this transfer is going to work. Will he change his play style? Is he going to change how he works with his forward players potentially? And that's what we're discussing. So it's that this is, and he's just said Dortmund have announced Adeyemi. So straight away the replacement. My only issue with the price is, I 64 million to bargain, and I'm not mad at 375 grand a week. I thought he would have been asking for more if he went to the likes of PSG. My issue is the 80 million pounds that is going on his agent and his father. Why is his father?
Do we get a payback? Because we're talking about it. Do Dortmund have to pay us money?
I know, might as well pay everybody money. I'm surprised he's not paying his best friend who he went from school with, who he passed the ball to once. That's the ridiculous thing about this transfer. Like, if you take away the transfer amount and the wages, which are completely, they're fine by me. It's a great deal for both parties. Just that 80 million on a dad fee and an agent fee. Thankfully, it seems like in December they're going to be introducing a 3% wage cap on agents, which is going to be unbelievable because it means that they can't scam money out of clubs. But the whole package is a bit mental, to be fair, and I don't think I would have wanted Liverpool to pay it, if I'm being honest, for one player.
But for 140 million, is Haaland worth 140 million? And at 21, probably the best central striker in the world, he's probably worth it. It's just where the money's going just feels a bit dodgy, doesn't it?
Yeah, like and none of it's really going to Dortmund, who have given the chance. Like, it's
Dortmund got him for cheap, didn't they?
Yes,
for all that, so the subsequent sell-on fees and stuff like that. And I think, just to touch on the 3% agent fees, whilst this sounds like a sensible move, it will start to move more American football type, where the agents take a percentage of the earnings from the player, and therefore the players are going to want infinitely more because the agent's taking infinitely more. And there's no way that agents are going to just go, okay, well, we'll only take 3% now instead of this 80 million. So it's just going to be twisted in another way.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a good signing. It could be a great signing. It's going to be interesting to see how they integrate him. Because that's where I don't really see it, because he's strong in the air, he's fast, he's great on the counter. None of that is City.
Yeah, the City are going to be playing long balls up, like, for instance, Liverpool do. They're all about build up. And Haaland's a great passer. Is he going to maybe play the Kane role where he drops in? Something we haven't seen at Dortmund. He's very much, he likes to run in behind, try and hold the ball up. But, if he can, because obviously they wanted Kane, but maybe if he can convert him to a Kane type player, then, that would be a scary prospect. But going on to more of the Liverpool side, they're improving the team, aren't they, James? And it doesn't look like they're losing anybody. The only person so far is Fernandinho, who's 37 years old. I would be highly surprised if they also didn't replace him this summer with maybe a younger central defensive midfielder to sort of come in after Rodri as well and be his backup. So, Liverpool up front, we're not really struggling, but there is positions that we could need. And really with City strengthening FSG are going to have to strengthen this Liverpool side, aren't they?
Yeah, and I mean, it could be a really interesting summer for us, couldn't it? Because Mane, Salah and Firmino are all going into a year left. So they theoretically could be getting moved on. I know a lot of the Mane stuff that's come out recently, they've just gone, hold on a second, all this is rubbish. It could turn into an interesting summer for us because I think we feel we need to strengthen that midfield and get our strikers locked down to another contract. We're really comfortable in defence. We're really comfortable in attack. And it's just we want to do the next iteration of our midfield. But it's like Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, isn't it? At this moment in time, Liverpool and Man City are going blow for blow. And it's players like Haaland just make what feels like a true rivalry forming between the two clubs, but a respectful one because Pep and Klopp don't seem to go all diggy at each other, do they? And all petty. I quite like it, to be honest.
Yeah. Afternoon to everybody joining. Please do leave a like if you are just joining. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We'll have the watch along with Louis this afternoon for the Villa game, and then we'll be doing a post-match straight after it too. But going strengthening Liverpool, it seems like Divock Origi is definitely leaving. Takumi Minamino is also being rumoured to be leaving. James Milner seems 50-50. Jordan Henderson is declining as we speak. There's room there for a forward player and for a midfielder, isn't there, James? And do you think they're the two areas that we definitely need to strengthen? Because it does look like at right back we're getting Calvin Ramsey in, so I think we can safely say that we've strengthened our Trent back up.
We've got an understudy. And the talks of Joe Gomez' new contract, which is another understudy and a centre-back understudy, which I like. Do you know what? I like Joe Gomez. I don't care what anyone else says, and I'm not going to go into it now. But yes, midfield seems like it's a sensible place for us to strengthen. I would like to see us bring in not a prospect. I would like to see us bring in an actual force. So I know and no one ever says the name the same way, so I'm going to say Touche Mene. Brilliant signing. If we were to get him, Jude Bellingham, not a chance Dortmund are going to let another big player go. I would like to see someone who is a bit like Thiago, someone that was in the prime of their powers coming in to sort of help that midfield, not another development project, because 24, 25-year-old, a bit like what Diaz is, someone that is just about to come into the prime of their powers to join that central midfield. And I cannot give you a name if you're going to ask me for one, so please don't. But that's what I think we need.
Yeah, no, I think the two names that you've mentioned, the two players who they're prospects, but they're senior players. They both play for the national teams. They're both a lot maturer than their age. Jude Bellingham is 18, 19, and Tchouaméni is 22. Fabrizio Romano actually come out today and said that we've been in contact with his agents. My only thing is it looks like that Monaco won around 70 to 75 million euros. I don't think that's going to be an issue because I think we'll probably pay like 40 mil up front and then the other 20 in incentives and installments. When you look at the other teams interested, it's Manchester United. He's not going to join there because he wants Champions League football. Chelsea, I just can't see them signing him. I think they'll be our main rivals, and Real Madrid, it looks like, aren't going to be going for a midfielder this summer with Mbappe potentially coming in. So I think we've got free running on him. And as you said, Bellingham, I don't think he's going to come in this season. However, I think next season he's done, honestly, if you want me to be honest. And I think in the long term aspect, Klopp wants a midfield of Fabinho, Tchouaméni and Bellingham, because Thiago by then will be 32-ish, and we know his luck with injuries. I don't mean by any means like he's done at the club, but you're probably going to want to be bringing someone in for him to, be his understudy, and Bellingham will be 20 at the time, so he can learn under him. But I do think that right centre midfield definitely needs to be bought. I think that's the one position that we have to look at and improve. And I also wouldn't mind a wide player who can play up front. Who that player is, I don't know. Maybe Cody Gakpo. But again, I think you're taking a massive risk from signing someone from the Eredivisie.
And we're doing the Liverpool thing again, which we're great at, and I can't deny it. We're going for the development player who may turn into something spectacular. I do genuinely think if we're going to lose a bit of experience this summer, we need to bring in a little bit of experience as well.
Who do you, Jen, really appreciate the super sticker as usual. Massive. We appreciate all your support on the channel. But who do we bring in who's established? Because the thing is, Liverpool have a very similar mold, and it hasn't failed as of yet. We bring in people the age from 22 to 25 who are at an established Champions League club, but somebody who isn't, let's say, regularly known. Like Luis Diaz, people knew him, but you're not having all my clubs going after him, and he's a decent player for Porto, but he's not going to be costing you 80 million. I don't think Liverpool abandoned that transfer strategy because it worked. It worked with Jota. It's worked with every one of our forward players. We've been doing this since Klopp joined. Mane, Southampton, Salah, Roma, Diaz, Porto, Jota, Wolves. So it's a proven strategy, and I understand where you're coming from. We did it with Thiago, and that's helped out. But I don't
think that is established. 25 is established, and all of the players you just listed are 25. We're talking about 22-year-olds. Tchouaméni, whatever it is, trying to establish himself in Anfield as a dominant playmaker is a lot harder at 22. 3 more years experience, no problems probably. Difficult Champions League nights, stuff like that. You're talking about 25-year-olds, 26-year-olds, Van Dijk, Alisson, Salah, who've done it at the top level. We're not talking about Monaco. Yes, I think he might be a year away, but I'd take him now. If he's available now, you do it now, don't you? That's what Diaz was. Diaz was summer. It's available now. We do it now. I just want to maybe a bit of Premier League experience, but I can't even think of anyone that I want.
Kevin De Bruyne, as Jen said there.
He's pretty much ideal for that right central mid role. That sort of Gerrard-esque whipping in with Trent. Rafinha, I've seen it, but yeah, I think
I'm not sold on Rafinha. I think I'd rather Jarrod Bowen, if I'm being honest. But Anthony said here and Kunku, the only issue is there's not a chance Leipzig selling for anything less than 80 mil. Anything less at all. I think they'd probably push for 100 mil too, even though we have a great relationship with the Red Bull organization. I just don't think it's going to be done. They've offered him a new deal. I do think he wants to leave, but he's got loads of club lining up for him. Manchester United are interested, but they're never going to do anything with Champions League football. They're not the same pull as they were when they didn't have Champions League football originally. Even Ten Hag, I think that's why they're targeting a lot of Ajax players, if I'm being honest, because they're willing to just play under Ten Hag. See, people are mentioning Núñez. He's not a Liverpool player. He can't play on the wing. He's one position. How many players do we have, James, who are one position?
No,
None.
I think that none. Apart from maybe Van Dijk, but he could play in.
I'd stick him up front too.
I think you nailed it. I think the Liverpool player, if he's available, is Jared Bowen, because he's 2-footed. He's playing in multiple positions. He's Premier League experienced. He's showing the Mane type stats at the moment. That feels more Liverpool than Jeremy Doku or Nkuku or Anthony from Ajax and all the other comments people are making. Tielemans is another one that's just seen in the chat. He does feel like a central midfielder we would bring in. Premier League experience, strong, confident in that thing. But I would also want that youth that's been mentioned, that Tuchmane.
Yeah, you know what? It's a hard Liverpool. It's a very hard transfer prediction for Liverpool. Haaland's young, but he's established. Even though he is only 22, he's proven that he can put numbers up like Lewandowski, and that's where Liverpool need to improve as well. I just don't think there's a central midfielder apart from maybe Pedri in the world who is under the age of 22 and an established midfielder that Liverpool could sign to really improve like Manchester City have done. And I think the right centre midfield is a role that we desperately need more than a forward. I think Jordan Henderson is a very he performs one good game every 5. And unfortunately, that's just not good enough for Liverpool. I think we need someone who can play that 8. And as much as I love Naby Keita, it's been proven for 4 years that we can't rely on Naby Keita. As hard as it is for me to say I love Naby Keita, we can't rely on him. And I think Tchouaméni, he's the perfect player. I don't rate Tielemans. Frankie de Jong is going to be impossible to sign. It's... And then everyone else you're looking at are going to cost over 60 million or just are not up for sale. And
I've got a name for you.
Go on.
You're going to balk it, I promise. But then you'll think about it over the weekend and you'll come back to me and go, do you know what? I'm not overly against it. James Ward-Prowse, 27 years old.
As a backup player, 100%.
Right centre mid.
I just don't. I like James Ward-Prowse, but there's no way he comes in as a starter for Liverpool. I just don't believe it, and I think he'd be great in a Klopp system. But he reminds me of when we're forced to play Curtis Jones on the left. That's what he's going to be. He's going to be somebody who comes on as the left, and we just try and win free kicks. I think the level of Southampton is great for him because he can show his skill set. He can show what he's all about. But in Liverpool, he's not going to get that. The team isn't built around one player, whereas Southampton cater to him. I think James Ward-Prowse would be a great Milner replacement, to be honest. But I think we need
or Henderson replacement if Milner goes and Henderson takes a step back. It's not a dynamic signing. It's not exciting, but set pieces, delivery, support. He fits the system. He plays the Premier League. It's not sexy.
But I don't. Ayosha said there that he thinks he starts. There's no way James Ward-Prowse starts. And the thing is, Luis Diaz, I hate to say this because I don't believe it myself, but a large majority of the fan base does. He's not exotic, is he? He's not Luis Diaz. No. You know, he's not Diogo Jota. And I just don't... I like
it's him. Not sexy. Like I said, weekend.
Yeah, we wouldn't do it. We're not a chance we do it. I just think Tchouaméni is the perfect player for us, honestly. I think he's in that age range. He's French. We've got Canate. We see Klopp likes his French players. We've seen him try and sign French players before. He can play as a Fabinho backup, and he can play in that 8. You know, he's got an absolute wonder of a foot on him, which we saw against Lille a couple of days ago when he scored 2 goals. He seems like he's got a very mature head on for his age, and he seems like he's going to be a leader, something that we we like at Liverpool. You know, how many leaders have we got in the squad, and he fits that bill as well. And he's someone who could play at Liverpool for the next 10 years. And you know, I think that would be a statement signing that would rival Haaland. I don't think if you bring James Ward-Prowse in, no one's going to be like, oh my God, who needs Haaland when you've got James Ward-Prowse? Like, that isn't a direct upgrade, in my opinion. I think you got Hendo and Ward-Prowse here. Maybe Ward-Prowse is a bit here because he can play. He's got a wand of a foot on him.
But Tuchmane and Henderson are probably there. It's just Tuchmane can go up there.
Tuchmane can go off the screen. Like, he could be the next. He could be, you know, a generational player. I don't like to. I use that word lightly because I honestly think the only generational players in the whole world at the moment are Pedri, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Kylian Mbappe. I think they're the only players who will make a long-lasting impact on football currently. But if Tchouaméni was to massively improve under Jurgen Klopp, you never know. And I think Bellingham could as well. And, you know, imagine that in the future, Fabinho, Bellingham, Tchouaméni. You're not getting... If they all improve how this should be, you're not getting a better midfielder than that in world football.
So are you saying, and a great way to end it, Charlie, that Haaland is not a generational talent?
No. I don't think Haaland's a generational talent at the moment. I think if Haaland and Mbappe were to end their careers right this second, people would say that Mbappe has made a bigger dent on football than Erling Haaland. And I do think that's down to the country they're from as well, which isn't Haaland's fault. But if Haaland wanted to, he could have played for England. So I've got no sympathy for him there. And he probably would have been starting. So, yeah, I think Haaland can be generational. I'm not saying that players can't be generational. Like, I think Harvey Elliott can be generational. I think Jude Bellingham can be generational. I think Gavi can be generational.
I would say, whilst I agree with you, Haaland, I do not think is generational. I think he has gone to a team and a manager that could turn him generational.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
He's not gone to just play to his strengths, has he? He's gone to challenge how he plays football. And I think that's what's exciting and scary and everything with this Haaland transfer to City. He could be turned into something.
He could be turned into an absolute monster. He could be, but he could also not be.
He could also Lukaku it out.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's... I think surrounding like what the stream title is, how does it impact Liverpool? I don't think it does, if I'm being honest. I think Haaland will take goals off other players. I don't think he comes in and adds 20 more goals. I think he comes in and takes 15 goals off other players who would have got the goals. Example, Gabriel Jesus. Example, Sterling. Gundogan, for instance, a lot of their midfielders. So I think he's going to come in, take players, take the goals off them, and maybe add an extra 5-10 goals to City. But I don't think he's going to be coming in like Mohamed Salah did and add 20 to 25 goals each season for Liverpool. So I think in the future it doesn't mean much to Liverpool unless he gets turned into an absolute demon.
Yeah. But Van Dijk against Haaland. Van Dijk wins for me.
Yeah, all day. And I think people are going to point back to the game against Leipzig in 2018 in the Champions League when you say that. That Leipzig side, Salzburg side, were very crazy if you go and rewatch that game back. It's similar to if you're playing poker and you're playing against an amateur. You don't have a strategy because they don't have a strategy. They're so bad, they're so unpredictable, and it makes it work. Salzburg weren't bad, but they weren't. It was unpredictable. They just sort of went in flying all guns blazing. So, yeah, I think if you put Haaland up against Van Dijk now, he wins 90% of the headers. No one is saying Haaland isn't a bad striker. We're not saying this.
We're saying he could become generational if Guardiola gets his mitts on him, or he could just be another striker that Guardiola's not had a great track record with.
Yeah, we're saying he is unbelievable. He is an unbelievable striker. but he could go up to another level with City, and that's what we're talking about here. You know, he's a unbelievable striker. He could go generational. He could not. You know, no matter what, he's going to come in and he's going to score City goals, which is what they need. But he could also not. Similar with Lukaku, you know.
Yeah. Regardless, Liverpool only play them twice in a year.
Yeah. So
in the Premier League, so it doesn't really impact us that much. Other teams saying that, you know, they lose to them twice a year, it doesn't change the Premier League picture for me. It might get them that little step further to, you know, playing us in the Champions League final as opposed to going out in the semi-final, but we'll still do them in the final.
Yeah, I would be a lot scared if they were to get Mbappe, as Gary has said there. That would be a sign, and that would, I think, would cement City winning the Champions League and multiple Premier Leagues, where I think this has just added another great player. But I think that's where we'll end it there. We were only planning for this to go 15 minutes.
I was going to say double the time.
Yeah, as the typical LFC transfer reviews, we always add a few extra minutes. But if you are new, please do leave a like on the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. Summer transfer window is coming up, so we are going to be going absolutely ham with the transfer content, the interviews with journalists and experts on people who we're linked with. But saying that, James, thank you for joining me.
Anytime.
Everybody in the chat, appreciate you joining. Louis is going to be live at 7:30 for the watch along, I think, or 6:45.
7-0, Charlie. 7-0. We need a 7-0.
7-2. The 7-0, I want Alisson a clean sheet. But yeah, so make sure to check that out. We'll also be live after the game, about 10 minutes after the game. So appreciate